Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Team LA Talk. I'm Arif Takhari. Remember, this is your home for the latest news on Team Melli, the national team of Iran. Well, everybody, obviously was hoping to be doing this under better circumstances, but what can we say? It's just this drought continues. I really thought this was going to be the tournament where Iran would finally win the Asian Cup and we'd be able to celebrate like crazy. And I know people say things like, hey, the FIFA Confederations Cup is nothing to really get excited for. Yeah, I know, I get that. But we all know that, Team Ali, our national team of Iran, doesn't really get that many opportunities to play, the best of the best, in football. So, having said all that, there's a lot of different emotions we have right now. And for me, obviously, there's disappointment. And to our listeners who joined us, thank you for being here. It's great to see you. Like the audience so far. Like I was saying, there's mixed emotions. There's some disappointment. And when I talk about disappointment, I'm saying that I feel like our players just collapsed after that first goal by Japan. I mean, there was a foul. We had about five players talking to the referee, and then these referees playing the advantage, saying play on. They end up scoring, and this one I've talked about game script before with Iran. It's that kind of thing where everything has to go their way for the game, for Iran to win, and that's why that's something that needs to be fixed. And I'm not, of course, we could talk about so many what ifs. What if this happened? And that's why I feel like when I look back at this game, it's a combination of some bad play from our guys and also even some bad luck. I mean, let's go back to that first half. Sardar Azmoun made a great move about the 26th minute, came so close to scoring a goal. What a great kick save though by Japan's keeper. You look back at that. Had that gone in, game would have been different. Easily would have been different. And even after Japan took a 1-0 lead, I know I mentioned earlier that looked like our guys collapsed a bit, but Ali Reza Jahanbakhsh had a free kick. Once again, a good save by the Japanese keeper. I mean, you talk about so many of these, close calls. We know that this sport is a game of inches, and let's be honest. When that penalty kick came for Japan, I was hoping Ali Reza Behramvad would save us. But as soon as that ball went in, I knew it. I think we all knew it. It was 2-0 to Japan, and we're thinking to ourselves, just how can we come back from a 2-goal deficit? I mean, really tough against a good team like Japan as well. And like I've been saying all along, it's part of me saying that there's a lot of disappointment because I feel like the guys, they obviously should not have collapsed after that. I mean, they really should not have that. They should not have collapsed after that first goal. I mean, yes, it was a silly goal to let in, but you got to keep your focus. And what can we say for the situation? Let's just put it out there. It sucks. This really does suck. And we're saying goodbye to Carlos Queiroz. What a great manager he's been for Team MLE. He's been amazing. There's so it's hard to find the words to describe how great he's done with Iran. And of course we will all miss him. That's for sure. Part of me still hopes in the back of my head maybe some of the guys in the Iranian Football Federation will come to the rescue and say, hey, he's not going anywhere. But this time we know it's pretty much official. And yes, now to answer some questions from my good man Ali Sheikh said, is he going to be gone for real? As far as I know, yes, I believe he will become the next manager of Colombia. What can we say, guys? I mean, Carlos Queiroz has stuck it out with Iran for such a long time. I mean, I think a lot of people expected him to be gone maybe a few years earlier, but so glad we had him for this Asian Cup as well. And one thing I want to talk about real quick is it's something I want to talk about involving my friend, and this involves Majid Hosseini. I mean, Majid Hosseini didn't start at center back, and I know for sure that my friend Arya Alaverdi probably came close to having a heart attack. I remember talking to him before the game. I said, I think it's going to be Kanani to start, and he was saying, no, not going to happen. Well, I mean, now after the fact, let's face it, whenever things go wrong, Iranian fans are always looking for a scapegoat, and in this case, I'm not gonna. I really can't really get much into that. So I got a question here from my good man Frank Keshani. He said, "Who would be your ideal new manager?" Well, you know what? Right now, it's so hard for me to think about who would be the ideal new manager. I think right now, don't worry, I'm not gonna just move on and not answer it, but I'm basically thinking that right now my mindset is, please, I do not want a manager like Amir Galinoui or Ali Dai. That's pretty much what I can say right now. But as of right now, it's hard for me to say, who would be the ideal new manager. And that really is all I can say right now. Like my other question, do I think Iran would have had a good chance against Qatar in the final? Well, for one, let me just be quick to say that just seeing that Qatar is in the final immediately just brings a bad taste to my mouth. That's for sure. Obviously, they'd have a good chance, but as we all know, I'm pretty sure there'll probably be some kind of bad officiating. I mean, realistically, it's not really worth me getting into that. Obviously, they would have had a good chance. Right now, Qatar is playing very well, so what can you say? And yes, like Frank Kishani just said, good answer. We don't need a repeat of the 2006, 2000 era. Yes, absolutely. We know which coaches we do not want on the sidelines for Tina Meli, and we have to understand that completely. So, what can we say, everyone? A tough loss. I mean, when you look at the score, 3-0, I think a lot of people have also said before that a 2-0 score was more of the realistic score. But, let's see, maybe we need to hire Qatar's head coach? Well, I don't know what to say about that right now. I really don't. All I know is, right now it's tough to speculate on who should be the coach. And obviously, of course, Qatar is getting a lot of recognition for being in the final. But like I said, right now it's really hard for me to talk about some of these other teams. Next, a question from my good man Hamid says, "Do you think Ashkan Dejaga is going to retire?" I do believe he's going to retire. Ashkan is getting up there in age, and you could see it from his reaction on the bench after he was subbed off, and he had his hands in his face. He knew it because he realized that was his last time, playing in a big competitive fixture for Iran. I mean, yeah, is it possible he could be around for the preliminary rounds of World Cup qualifying for the 2022 World Cup? Yeah, of course it's possible, but I don't think it's very probable. And someone said they want to see me on the bench. Well, thank you, but I don't know. I'm not really qualified for that. I got to keep on getting more of my coaching licenses. But thank you for the vote of confidence. I really do appreciate it. And man, what can I say? Yes, if I did have my coaching licenses, yeah, of course I'd love to be head coach of Tina Meli. I mean, why would I not want to be, right? So, of course, I just want to thank everyone for the support. Great to see you all here. Love the questions. And right now, I think this is one of those moments where we feel like we're kind of in limbo. Next, how about Shojai? Yes, I do believe Masoud Shojai is going to retire. In all honesty, I feel like he should have retired after the 2018 World Cup. The poor guy is probably thinking to himself, okay, I played one game in the World Cup. Here I am now at the Asian Cup. Maybe, I could get some more minutes. But, yeah, Masoud Shojai, he's done some great things for Team Melli before. But, it's been a few years where I have not been a very big fan of him. Sorry to everyone out there who loves Masoud Shojai. Like I said, I know he's done some great things before, but these past few years, I've just kind of viewed him as kind of like, it's kind of been, declining a bit. Okay, next, there looks like I have a request saying that I need to have more of these live feeds. Well, you know what? I agree. I think that's a good idea. I do like going live. It is fun. And when talking about going live next time, well, I'm going to keep on doing this. I'm planning on doing this as a weekly thing, hopefully. And I feel like the next time, for some of our next upcoming editions, I know right now it's hard to talk about some, upcoming games for Iran. Like earlier I said, it feels like we're in limbo. Yes, it is. That's exactly where we are at. Who's going to become the next head coach for Tina Meli, the national team of Iran? We just don't know. I'm just hoping that it doesn't turn into one of those situations, back that took place where there was a time where Iran didn't have a head coach one time for about 6 months. It was after the 2007 Asian Cup. I mean, we definitely don't want to see any kind of situation like that. That's for sure. Next, Hamid said, I think we didn't do any improvement since the World Cup. Ali asked, was it the head coach's fault for the loss? Okay, good questions there. I mean, good question, a good statement. When you say, first, Hamid, when you say you don't think there was much improvement, well, when you look at the roster, this roster that Carlos Queiroz brought was basically that same roster I believe 17, I believe 19 of those players from the World Cup were on the same roster. So I see what you're saying when you feel like there wasn't that much support. I mean, excuse me. I feel like I understand what you're saying when you said that you feel like there wasn't that much improvement. And he brought pretty much the same team, and I can't really. I feel like yeah, it was pretty much the same team. I'm not sure what kind of improvement you're looking for. I mean, we did see some more offense. The problem now this game, but in this tournament, unable to get a goal against Japan, and things went south really quickly. That penalty they got. I mean, you got fans even saying that shouldn't have been a penalty. But look, the referees are never going to get this handball thing right. So let's just figure that out. As for the other question from Ali, do I think it was Carlos Queiroz's fault? I do not think it was his fault. I mean, it's hard to say how it would be. I mean, maybe some people would come here and say maybe Majid Hosseini should have started instead of Kananiza Degan. That could be one thing. I know, of course, my friend Arya would say that, but it's hard for me to. I cannot say that it was Carlos Queiroz's fault because, like I said before, Azmoun came close to scoring. Had he scored, the game could have changed a lot. And he warned his players about throughout the tournament. They got to finish their opportunities, got to be smart. And if anyone watched one of my previous editions of Team Melli Talk, I mentioned that if Iran wanted to win the 2019 Asian Cup, then they had to play hard, and they also had to keep their heads down and be quiet. Well, seeing 5 players around the referee, the referee plays the advantage. You got to be smart about that. So no, I cannot say it was Carlos Queiroz's fault. I definitely cannot. So like I said earlier, everyone, really do appreciate you all being here for this live edition of Team Melli Talk. And we will be having some more coming up soon. Keep an eye out. Another question. All right, you guys are keeping me busy. So it says, between Taremi and Azmoun, which one is better? Well, you're asking a question when you're comparing a striker and a forward. Well, the truth is, when it comes to being a better finisher, of course I'm going to say, look, it's Sardar Azmoun, plain and simple. But of course, as in regards to finishing skills as well, I mean, yeah, it's got to be Sardar Azmoun. I mean, we've seen Mehdi Taremi really tick us off before. He came really close against Spain, came close against Portugal. I mean, I don't know how he missed the goal against China also, but like I said, that is a good question though. It is tough to ask. Let's see what some of our questions are now here on the Twitter feed. So, do you think our offense is completely dependent on Mehdi Sardar axis? Or did Japan scout us well? Well, the truth is, I don't think we're dependent that much on the Sardar Taremi axis. And yes, of course, Japan did scout us well. I mean, look, the thing is, Japan is a great team. We saw how they had a 2-0 lead against Belgium. At one time, you thought they were this close to go into the quarterfinals of the 2018 World Cup. So, of course, they scouted us well. And, they knew how to press us at times in the midfield. But I really don't feel like we got to look at the, being dependent on the Mehdi, Taremi, Sardar axis very much. That's my opinion on that. And in this situation, yes, some people are going to say, hey, we didn't have Saeed Ezatolahi. Yeah, and of course, Mehdi Taremi was suspended. I mean, did we want to see him in the lineup? Of course, absolutely. We love Mehdi Taremi. He's a great player. But, in a situation like this, I just can't just keep looking back at, what if this player was there or if that player wasn't there. Because, like I said, Sardar came close to scoring. Next question here. Actually, a statement here from my good friend Darren Yahya Khan. Had this to say. He said, Kanani shouldn't have started. He said it should have been... He said Hosseini or Cheshmi should have started, meaning Majid Hosseini or Rouzbeh Cheshmi. Well, right now we're getting into the shouldas, wouldas, and couldas, this whole thing, this whole Captain Hindsight type of thing. And, those are the kinds of things you don't really want to start bombarding yourself with. Also, Darren pointed out that Ramin Rezaian has declined ever since the 2018 World Cup finished. And we know... We also know that Voria Ghafouri is a very good right back. But like I said, everyone, a lot of things for us to examine. And, when you're upset, when you're upset about the game, it's easy for us to look back at what should have been done. But like I said, I obviously feel a little disappointment because this was Carlos Queiroz's last game as manager for Iran. And he goes out with a 3-0 defeat. You know, that's, it's hard. It's tough. And, what can we say? That's obviously not the way he wanted to go out, but that's what happened. Let's see, Ali Sheikh here said, after all, our defense was not that big of a deal. He says, what is your thought on that? Well, our defense has been a great thing under the tutelage of Carlos Queiroz. But like I said, after that first goal, they got flustered. We've seen our players get flustered before. And it's tough. And we don't want to see that. I even think they were flustered a bit even when they were playing against Iraq and it was 0-0. I mean, of course, I was okay with that bad game because you're not going to have a perfect tournament. Yes, it would be nice, but you'd rather take one of those subpar performances in the group stage. Okay, let's see. How about another question? It says, why do you think Carlos Queiroz pulled Vahid Amiri out? He said he was playing so well. That was, very good point. I really like that question right there. And, it's because of the situation. I think Vahid Amiri, is more so playing in the game when, I've talked about game script before. If the game is going to plan, if the game is going according to plan for Iran, I believe that Carlos Queiroz, keeps his guys in who he knows who do well in these situations. I think once it was 2-0, Carlos Queiroz realized he had to bring on some more firepower. He was bringing the house. He wanted to throw everything at Japan, wanted to throw the kitchen sink at them. Yeah, Darren here mentioned that the Japanese players were flopping a lot. He also said overall, Iranians don't have good experiences with Australian referees. Well, of course, in 2015, yeah, I remember that moron Ben Williams. But like I said, everyone, look, I'm not, actually don't mean to say everyone, but I'm saying is to Darren is, don't want to go after the whole referee thing. I've said it before. Sardar Azmoun came close to scoring. Jahan Bash came close to scoring. And like I said, it's disappointing how this turned out. But that's how it is, and all we can do is just wait. Next question is, do I think Iran had a plan B? Honestly, it's hard for me sometimes to look at a plan B for Iran because I keep going back to the same thing. Game script, game script, game script. It's like, here's the plan. This is how we're going to do it. Let's get it done. And sometimes, when something messes it up, it's hard. Especially, of course, if Iran was at home and fell behind 1-0, probably would not be that much of a panic. But, this was a Asian Cup semifinal in UAE. Next, Darren said, Branko will be manager of Iran. I know there's a lot of people who would like to see Branko Ivankovic come back as manager of Team Melli. Of course, he's done a good job with Persepolis. We know he did a good job with Iran, taking them to the 2006 World Cup. But I'm really quick to say I don't want to see Branko as manager again of Iran. I have nothing against him. But I think better to go in a different direction. Like I said, and, who's going to be that coach? That's a good question. But better, like I said before, I just hope it's not going to be someone that when I hear the news that I'm going to start getting sick to my stomach because, this is a very important point for Team Melli. We know that. Next one, he says, from Frank, he said, not sure if you saw my comment. Do you think Bagheri will be good as next manager? Okay, sorry I didn't say that earlier, Frank, but thank you for bringing it up again. Karim Bagheri as manager. Wow. I mean, Karim Bagheri is a legend. I mean, would I be okay with that? Yeah, of course. I mean, I could say I'd be okay with it. Do I think he'd be a better manager than Ali Daei? Well, if you're comparing them as in egos and, who's going to be more the reasonable person, yes, I will say that Karim, I'd much rather go with the personality of Karim Bagheri. That's for sure. But at this situation, look, Karim Bagheri's been, out of football for a long time. So I don't think it'd be a battle, but I just feel like with the amount of foreign players on Team Melli and what has been done, I feel like you'd have a lot of Iranian football fans not really approving of that hire as manager. Also, Ali Sheikh said, was there anything fishy about the referee? Like I said, I don't think there was really anything that fishy. I really don't. I mean, of course, you want to go back to that penalty. I said those referees are never going to get this handball thing right. I mean, yes, the ball hit poor Ali Ganji right here as he was sliding. I would probably say Well, as we all know, if the hand plays the ball, then it's a penalty. If the ball plays the hand, then it's not a penalty. So why can't the referees figure that out? That's a good question. Maybe, someone's got to give them a lesson on this, but whatever. We that's a whole different can of worms there. And yes, Frank also said that Bagri was always the humble, dependable leader. Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, Karim Bagri is a legend. Of course, I always have a lot of respect for Ali Daei, but one thing I've really rarely ever talked about on Team Ali Talk podcast or on these YouTube shows of Team Ali Talk is that I don't really bring up Ali Daei very much. But like I said, I've always had a lot of respect for him, but I just do not like the way that Ali Daei finished his tenure with Team Ali as a player, and of course as a coach. Well, we saw what happened as well. Also, someone's asking, I don't agree it was a penalty? Look, in all honesty, I don't think it was a penalty. But then look, when you go back to the game against Portugal, I mean, was that really that much of a penalty? Sardar Azmoun headed the ball down, it hit Cedric's arm. I can't just sit here and say, hey, that was a terrible call by the ref. We got screwed over. No, I'm not going there at all. Not going there at all. Darren Yahya Khan said Iran needs a foreign coach. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Iran needs a foreign coach. Of course, has to be a good foreign coach. Don't just go run out and get the first person. There's got to be a good, well-executed search. This is very serious stuff here. So it's got to be a good search, but you can't let this drag on too long. That's for sure. All right, everyone, we are going on record time here for this live edition of Team MLE Talk. But with that, I believe it is time for me to sign off. I really do appreciate the support. Make sure you follow us if you have not done so yet. And we'll see you next time, everyone. Have a good night. And as always, go Team LE.